Congregational Church of Harlem, we present a reading of a play, A Maundy Thursday, by Mark Madison. Based on the Gospel of Mark, the play portrays the period of the Last Supper and the betrayal of Jesus by Judas. Our cast of characters are Jesus, George Williams Jr., Peter, Cynthia James Rodriguez, Judas, Deborah Jackson White, Mary, Lady J, Jessica Horsford, Martha, Victoria Penderhughes, Thomas, Dottie Tendai. There are other female disciples and other male disciples. Caiaphas, Paula Flynn, Priest 1, Dottie Tendai, and Chief 2, Lady J, Jessica Horsford. Your producer director is Deborah Jackson White, and your narrator is Barbara Fennell. Scene 1, the Gospel. Jesus, Peter, Judas, Thomas, and a diverse group of other female disciples and other male disciples enter. Peter heads to the far end of the table.
Oh, no one's willing to take the head seat? I guess I'll take it if no one else will.
Everyone sits, with Judas at the opposite end of the table from Peter. An empty seat separates Jesus from Thomas.
That's not the head, Peter. That's the tail. This seat is the head of the table.
Oh, come on, guys. You know better than this. Be careful about picking the best seat. You don't want somebody to ask you to move down, do you? Isn't it better to choose a more humble seat and be asked to move up?
Martha enters the room with a platter of fruit.
Remember what I was telling you earlier? Those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Here, Martha, sit down.
You're right, Judas. Your seat is the head seat.
No, I'm pretty sure yours is the head.
Guys, life isn't about getting ahead. It's about giving, right? For example, when we throw a feast, don't just invite your friends and family. Invite people who can't pay you back, like those who are poor. Then you'll have your reward.
Won't it be great to feast in the kingdom of heaven?
Actually, Martha, the kingdom of heaven isn't going to come by watching and waiting. You won't be able to say, look over here or look over there. The kingdom of heaven is already here. But most people just don't see it.
Rabbi, tell us where it is.
Right here, Thomas. Right here inside of you.
Wow, this fruit looks delicious. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm starved.
Scene 2, the plot. Caiaphas sulks in his chair, Chief Priest 2 at his side. Chief Priest 1 joins them.
How bad is it?
It's bad. This Jesus is performing many signs. If we don't do something, more people will follow him.
But is it really a threat? It's not like he's organizing his followers for an armed revolt.
It doesn't matter whether he preaches violence. He's preaching another kingdom. And you know the Romans won't tolerate that for 1 minute. They'll crush our people.
Especially during the feast when we're celebrating our freedom from slavery in Egypt. Rome has always been suspicious about revolution this time of year.
But what can we do? If we try to stop him during the feast, it could start a riot.
You don't know anything at all. Don't you know that it's better for one man to die for the people than for the whole nation to suffer? We just have to turn him over to Pilate. It's the only way to protect our people.
But how do we arrest him? He's always surrounded by crowds.
He can't spend every minute in the spotlight. If we can just find him alone, we can make our move.
Scene 3, the anointing. Jesus is eating with Thomas, Martha, Peter, Judas, and the other female disciples and other male disciples.
Rabbi, what's keeping people from understanding the kingdom of heaven? What is it about people nowadays?
People nowadays are like children in the streets playing games about weddings and funerals. They call out each other and say, "We played the flute for you, but you didn't dance. We mourned, but you didn't weep."
Why are you making that comparison, Rabbi?
Well, think about it. John the Baptist didn't eat bread or drink wine, and they said he was crazy. I'm happy to eat and drink, and they say I'm a glutton and a drunk. But Mother Wisdom is vindicated by all her children, isn't she?
Mary enters carrying an alabaster jar. Jesus rises to meet her.
What's this?
Peter, it's ointment. Here, Rabbi.
Mary anoints Jesus' head with oil, then kneels and anoints his feet.
Hey, don't you know how much that ointment is worth? What's a waste? What's the matter with you? That could have sold for a lot of money and been given to the poor.
Why are you harassing her?
Don't you get it? Judas,
those
Mary anointed his head because he's the Messiah, the king who's going to lead our people to victory against the Romans.
You mean the Messiah who's going to be murdered? Like so many other prophets, Peter? Don't you remember when he warned us about that? This is for his burial.
Mary's right. Her act of love has given me strength to face the coming storm.
Peter, Judas, and the other male disciples exchange puzzled glances.
Believe me, wherever the good news is preached, whatever he has done will always be told in remembrance of her.
Scene 4, the betrayal. Judas approaches Chief Priest 1 and quietly confers with him. Chief Priest 1 approaches Caiaphas.
Hey, Caiaphas, there's someone here to see you.
Who is it?
It's one of Jesus's closest followers. I think this is the opportunity we've been waiting for.
Well, just don't stand there. Send him in. So, you're one of his followers.
I used to be, but not anymore.
Let's talk.
Scene 5, the Last Supper. Jesus continues to dine with Peter, Mary, Martha, Thomas, and the other female disciples and male disciples.
I've really been wanting to share this feast with you while we still have time.
The time is near, isn't it? We're all going to rule over the kingdom now, aren't we?
Yeah, it's our time. Yeah, yes,
Yes.
yes.
The male
Mhm.
disciples nod and murmur their agreement.
Sounds good.
The Romans lord it over people, but I don't want to have anything to do with that. Whoever wants to be great among you has to become your servant.
What do you mean?
Well, who's more important? The person sitting at the table or the person serving? Isn't it the person sitting at the table? I'm serving.
Jesus removes his coat, wraps a towel around his waist, pours water into a bowl, and kneels down at Mary's feet.
I'm taking off my coat, Mary, to wash your feet.
Rabbi,
It's your turn now, Mary.
What's
Jesus
this?
washes Mary's feet, kisses them, then moves to Peter.
What's this?
I'm going to wash your feet too.
But why? I don't understand.
You will.
Rabbi, you'll never wash my feet.
oh, Peter.
If I don't wash your feet, you don't belong to me.
Well, in that case, don't just wash my feet, wash my hands and my head too.
Oh, don't get carried away. You've already taken a bath, right? Look, this is an example for all of you.
Mary, Martha, Thomas, other female disciples, and other male disciples followed Jesus' example, washing each other's feet. Peter hesitates, then joins them. When everyone reclines at the table again, Jesus lifts the elements from the table and recites the words of consecration.
The gifts of God for the people of God. Come, for all things are ready.
End of play.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to share some notes on this script. The structure of this play is organized around Mark's chronology, which Matthew follows, which narrates the plot against Jesus and the anointing, immediately followed by Judas' betrayal and the Last Supper. These pericopes correspond to the scenes 2 through 5. Church tradition identifies the woman who anointed Jesus as Mary Magdalene, but Matthew, Mark, and Luke don't identify her in spite of unequivocal proclamation that she would be remembered. Whether she was Mary Magdalene, Mary of Bethany, or someone else, Mary is a principal character. By including the narrative of Jesus' anointing, this script seeks to restore to its central place in the Passion story, emphasizing similarity between the story told in remembrance of her and the story of the Last Supper celebrated in remembrance of Jesus. Matthew and Mark narrate the anointing of Jesus' head, whereas John, like Luke, narrates the anointing of Jesus' feet, which in turn foreshadows Jesus' washing of his disciples' feet, which in turn foreshadows Jesus' washing of his disciples' feet soon thereafter. This script includes both the anointing of Jesus' head and his feet and explores the multiple implications: kingship, suffering, servanthood. Finally, the passages from the Gospels of Thomas and Luke in scene 1 were carefully selected to frame the narrative in terms of Jesus' message. Jesus' open table fellowship is a manifestation of the kingdom of heaven and supports the theme of servanthood, which unfolds in the Last Supper narrative. The addition of Martha was inspired mainly by Luke chapter 10, verses 38 to 42, and dovetailed nicely with the theme of the screenplay. It helped to balance out the traditional portrayal of a largely exclusive men's club, so characteristic of Maundy Thursday dramas. The Gospels don't mention disciples other than the 12 at the Last Supper, but neither do they deny that other disciples from Galilee including women, were present. In short, the material in this script was carefully selected and arranged to vigorously emphasize themes in the gospel accounts themselves that are often overlooked, as well as to sharpen the portrayal of Jesus' message and include the too often neglected contribution of key women at the very heart of Jesus' story. The script of this play reading is taken entirely from the gospel books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, Thomas, and John. Thank you to all cast members and to the members of the Grace Church for your time and your support. Good evening.